Okay, today we're going to be continuing to look at this idea of simplifying expressions. Right now you need to make sure you have Notesheet 2 out. And before we get started with anything new, we have a little bit of practice on the basic material that we've been working on up until now. So what I'd like you to do is take a moment and pause this video and work on number 1 through 4. Okay, when you've completed this, raise your hand. Mr. Meyer and myself will come around and check your work before you continue on. So again, make sure you're pausing right now. Okay, so you should have this section completed already. Mr. Meyer and I should have checked it for you. And now we're going to continue on and look at some actual new material of our notes for the focus section of Objective 1 for Unit 1. So what we're looking at this next section is really adding in the idea of subtraction of an entire expression. We've seen a few problems similar to this first one in our first half, in our note sheet 1. When I look at a problem and it has parentheses, you always need to stop and look at what is in front of the parentheses. Okay, make sure you have that written down. We will be looking to see that all of your notes are completed, including the extra notes that we add. Pause at any point if you need that. All right, so we see this first problem and I see parentheses. I look in front of this set of parentheses, there's nothing there. There's no distribution to do. This set of parentheses is extra. It's not needed. I look in front of this set of parentheses and I see a plus sign. It's telling me to add everything that's in this second parentheses to what's before the plus sign. Okay, again, when it's addition, that set of parentheses is not necessary. There's no multiplication here. So in this situation, when we see a plus and no multiplication, we're going to ignore the parentheses. What we need to do then is go and do what we've been doing. We're going to add the like terms. So to make it easier for us to do our marking like terms, we're going to go ahead and rewrite the expression and make sure we copy it correctly. Notice I'm putting the plus in between, but I'm writing it without the parentheses because the parentheses are not necessary. Okay, now I'm at the point there's no multiplication. I need to add these like terms. So we're going to box and circle the like terms. I'm going to box this 5x. Okay, what else goes with that? Box it in yourself. Okay, hopefully you boxed in the 3x. Okay, that's the like term that goes with the 5x. Those are both x terms. Okay, then I see a y term, this plus 8y. And over here I see another y term, so that one has a pair, so I'm going to go ahead and circle those. A plus 8y, and I'm going to make sure again that I get the sign in front of it, so the minus 12y are added together. We have a third set. We have constants. We have this minus 3. I'm going to try and draw a triangle around it. The triangles are trickier to get the symbol in, but go ahead and try and do that. Draw triangles to mark those like terms. All right, now let's actually add them up. 5x and 3x, when I add them together, 5 plus 3 is 8, and so I get 8x. Please be very careful not to forget the variable. All right, I took care of my x terms. I'm going to lightly cross those off so I know that those are done. Now I have my circles, my y terms. I have 8 and a minus 12. When I take 8 and subtract 12 from it, I get negative 4y. Okay, I'm going to cross those off as well lightly. Okay, I'm done with my circles, and now I have my triangles. I have a negative 3 or a minus 3 and a plus 14. Okay, if I have a negative 3 and a plus 14, I add those together, I get a positive 11, so I'm going to add 11. And we get our simplified version of the sum, meaning adding, these two expressions. Addition allows me to ignore the parentheses. In the example on the right, though, again, I look at my parentheses. There's nothing in front of the first set, so that set of parentheses is not necessary. I can ignore them. In front of the second set of parentheses is a minus. This is subtraction. This means I need to do what we were doing in our warm-up, which is change what's being subtracted to addition of the opposite. I'm going to distribute that negative. I'm going to find the opposite of it. And so we're going to change We're going to change to addition of the opposite. Whenever I see a subtraction in front of parentheses saying I'm subtracting everything in the parentheses, I immediately change it to addition of the opposite. There's no subtraction in front of the first set of parentheses, so that remains the same. And we said we don't need those parentheses. We're just going to recopy the 5x plus 8y minus 3. Here is minus everything in the parentheses, so I'm going to change it to plus, and then the opposite of everything that's in the parentheses. A 3x becomes a negative 3x. With the terms that have a sign in front, we simply change the sign. This minus becomes plus 12y, and the plus 14 becomes minus 14. Okay, that first term we change it to the opposite, but the second two have their sign that can be changed to make it to the opposite. Now we're back at a point where we have a bunch of like terms that we need to add together. Again, let's mark our like terms. So you go ahead and pause this, and you mark your own like terms using your boxes and circles and triangles. Okay, you should have that done, so you should have the 5x with the like symbol as the plus and negative 3x. You should have the plus 8y with the like symbol as the plus 12y. And you should have the minus 3 with a like symbol as the minus 14. Okay, then adding those. Mine are in boxes for my x terms. So I'm going to add those x terms. 5 and negative 3 gives me 2x. Cross off those. I'm done with my x terms. As I cross it off, I make sure I wrote the x. That's a good thing to double check at that point. Here I have my y terms. 8y and 12y adds up to 20y. Okay, we need to cross those off. And then I have my triangles, my constants, the number without the variable. Negative 3 and a minus 14 gives me negative 17. Okay, here's my simplified version of the subtraction. Okay, subtraction is the more difficult of the two operations. You do need to make that change. Let's do a little more practice together, and then I'm going to have you do some work on your own. So here I look at 5 and 6. Starting with 5, I see parentheses. I look in front of them. Nothing in front of the first set of parentheses, so this set of parentheses is not necessary. A plus in front of the second set of parentheses, so it's simply saying add everything else that's in here. So all of these parentheses are actually unnecessary, and they're just indicating that I want to add all these values to what's in front of the plus sign. And so I can ignore the parentheses, and right now I want you to pause again and mark your like terms. Okay, welcome back. If you haven't marked your like terms, again, pause and do that. You should have done that at this point. So now what you should have marked is the negative 4a and the plus 5a, the plus b and the minus 8b. The plus 3 doesn't have a like term, so I'm not going to mark it at the moment, but we don't want to forget about it. Okay, now that you have these marked, and hopefully yours match mine, go ahead and take a moment and add the like terms. Again, pause the video and add your like terms. Okay, you should have paused. Now you should have an answer here before we go on. That answer should match with a negative 4a plus 5a gives me 1a. If you write a 1 in front of it, that's fine, but it's not necessary. Then we have a plus b and a minus 8b, which gives me negative 7b. And then the plus 3, we cannot forget about it, but we don't need to change it either. It doesn't have anything to add with it. It remains as a plus 3. Okay, that was an addition problem. Now we have a subtraction. Right away, I mark that because I see it, and I don't want to forget about it. I look in front of the first set of parentheses, nothing to distribute. I look here, I see my minus, so I know I'm going to change to adding addition of the opposite. Okay, so right away I'm going to do that change. I'm going to leave the first parentheses as they are. I don't need the parentheses, so I won't write them. I'm going to change it to plus. From minus to plus. Now I'm going to take the opposite of anything in the parentheses. So that was a negative 2m becomes a positive 2m. A plus becomes a minus 3n. And a minus becomes a plus 10. Okay, we changed it to addition, and we took the opposite of everything that was being subtracted. Okay, again, pause again. Find your like terms, mark them, then come back. Okay, you should have your marked terms liked. We have M terms. Again, make sure that sign's in there. We have our plus 14 and our plus 10. There's no other N terms, so I'm just going to leave that as it is. Adding 3M and 2M, why don't you go ahead and take, again, pause and try and finish this up. Okay, you should have this problem completed. 3M plus 2M gives you 5M. A plus 14 and a plus 10 is a plus 24. And then the minus 3N does not disappear. We make sure we include it in our final answer. Okay, 2 more, and then I'm going to have you do a little bit more work on your own. All right, so sum. What does sum mean? Right above the words, or below, let's go below. Right below the word sum, put the operation. Okay, hopefully you wrote a plus sign. That is what sum's asking us to do. So it wants us to add these two polynomials. Here's why we tend to see all these parentheses. We like to group things. This 4x plus 8 is one expression, so I'm going to put in parentheses, 4x plus 8. Sum, so I want to add to that the second expression, so I'm going to put that in parentheses, 10x minus 15. Okay, as we wrote it, we put the parentheses just to indicate these were separate expressions. But there's no multiplication. My operation is addition. The parentheses are not necessary. And I'm not going to necessarily even look at them anymore as I continue the problem. I have like terms to mark, so go ahead and mark your like terms. Again, pause and do that. Okay, coming back, you should have your 4x and your 10x marked. You should have your plus 8 and your minus 15 marked. Pause again and finish. Okay, hopefully you finished it up. 4x and 10x is 14x. 8 and then minus 15 is minus 7. Okay, and then the last one we'll do together is number 8. It says find the difference of those two expressions. What does difference mean? Write that below the word. Okay, hopefully you put a minus sign. Difference is subtraction. And so here I want to subtract this expression, 4x plus 8, the first expression. Again, I'm just going to put that in parentheses to say that's the first expression. Minus. And this second set of parentheses is absolutely necessary. I need to have a parentheses saying I want to subtract all of this 10x minus 15. And so we want to make sure this set of parentheses is absolutely necessary. Without it, the problem will be wrong. I want to make sure that we indicate that we're subtracting all of this, and the parentheses is how we do that. Okay, now we see subtraction. Again, nothing in front of this parentheses, but there is this subtraction, so I need to change it to addition of the opposite. So the 4x plus 8 will remain as 4x plus 8. I'm going to not write the parentheses this time because I know they're not necessary at this point. I'm going to change it to addition of the opposite. So 10x becomes negative 10x. Minus 15 becomes plus 15. Okay, now we're going to box and circle again. Let's do it together. Okay, start with your first set. Box one set. Okay, hopefully you saw the 4x and the plus negative 10x. Okay, then we have the circle, the last ones. They're both like terms. Adding those together, 4x and negative 10x is negative 6x. And then the 8 and 15 add up to 23. Okay, we're going to stop our video here, and I want you to work on your More Practice worksheet.